Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 120. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
Jay.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cocked your head to the sides and I'm angry.
What were you up to this week, man?
Well, man, I had myself a good old Halloween weekend.
Yeah, I saw some of the pictures. I plan on putting them up on Twitter after this episode is released because I want people to vote and tell me which costume they like better, Slender Man or
Neo from The Matrix.
Jay as Neo from The Matrix. But yeah, you went out this weekend.
Yeah, I had a couple fun little Halloween parties with a couple different groups of friends, and it was an okay time. They seemed to be always like the same kind of people, the same kind of parties, and the same different kind of modes I can put myself in. So I have one group of friends that are very more reserved, I would say, and they'll be a little bit earlier in the night, and then everybody leaves. And it's just like, okay, perfect timing, because I know my other group of friends are still going to be partying until like 1 o'clock at least, and even though they're all still older and married and things like that. But it's a good time because both parties really like to have fun with it and play games and.
So it's a weird tightrope that you walk there with your friends groups, huh? Like you're kind of like
well,
this.
And I have to walk it again because Friendsgiving is the same day as your Friendsgiving. So the one group has a Friendsgiving the exact same time as yours, and I'm probably just going to bail on theirs.
You know my rule. Once the turkey's out, I don't save anything. I don't wrap anything up. I don't reheat. That's it. You're either here when it's served or you get nothing.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Oh, and the one time I got here a little on the late side, and it was
gone. You got here late last year. It was all gone. It was gone. There was almost no turkey
Everybody's very prompt at your party.
because the people who come to my parties are adults. Like I allow kids at my party too because I have a kid. So I tell people, "Good, bring the kids. Yeah, bring everybody. Whatever. Everyone's free to come."
Dogs.
No,
maybe
don't bring the dogs.
That'd be trouble.
But it's funny that I just couldn't imagine doing what you do, like walking this tightrope of like friends groups where I like have to be a different type of person around different people and stuff like that. Well, you know what? You're so boring and reserved. You don't have to act like anything but the boring, reserved person you are.
But I'm still a variation of myself anyway. Like I'm still that single guy, like the still the single guy kind of role because everybody's fucking married. The one group is all younger. The other group is like closer to like our age,
but all married.
All married. Yeah. And like the one group is where my party friends growing up, and then this other group is like from work, and they're all like Christians.
Isn't this a sign?
It's kind of funny.
Isn't this a sign for you? Like,
yeah, well, I gotta just start putting myself out there again because I have not been dating whatsoever the last few months because I haven't been talking about it on the show very much lately. But no, I have not been dating, and it's been lonely.
That's because you kept telling women that you did this show, and they started listening, and then they stopped wanting to date after they listened.
It made me certainly a little leery of bringing it up on dates.
Definitely don't.
I don't think I should anymore.
Let it come up in passing. That way you seem more mysterious because it's like, oh, he does this thing, and I never
throw everything out on the first date.
Stop throwing everything out. Stay a little. You're already silent, so you might as well be mysterious as well. Because it's no offense to you, you're just not a great conversationalist. Your best bet is to become.
That's a funny thing. On first dates, I'm really rambly. Like I ramble.
Be a good listener, and then after they're done talking, drop the bombshell on them that you're deaf in one ear. So you're only half listening to them anyway.
True. And then sympathy sex.
God, you're just a fucking caveman of a human being. You're awful. So for me, this weekend was a whole lot of like laying around movie watching because me and Lauren were recovering from the wedding which was on Thursday night. It was a Thursday night wedding, which we talked about, in part 2 of our Halloween episode. We got into the wedding a little bit, but we really didn't do a whole lot. But the nice part is, post wedding, we went over to our friend Tara and Ryan's house because they still had 2 kegs from their wedding that were about half full. So like a text went out to everybody that's just like, bring your growlers, get your asses over here. We need people to get rid of this beer now.
Yeah.
So
that was like the greatest thing ever to wake up to, because I'm like, I got 2 small growlers. I got 2 parties tonight. Okay. I'm coming over.
Free beer! Free beer! Free beer! Free beer! Free beer!
yeah, me and Lauren went over there, and we dropped off 2 growlers for them to donate to other people who don't have growlers. But I filled up a 64-ounce growler of Lagunitas IPA, and Lauren filled up a 32-ounce growler of Dogfish Head Namaste White Ale. So, and we drank those while we were recording the Patreon episode for this month, which is Name That Song in 8 Bits Disney Edition, which is what me and Lauren did on Saturday night with my sister Kim, #1 Patreon supporter.
Yes, Lauren versus Kim. I'm very excited.
It was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun. And they both learned, because they both listened to the episode where you and John did Name That Song in 8-bit, and they were like screaming, and they were like, how can you not know that song? How can they not know it? And they got to learn what it was like to be in the hot seat.
Thank God.
Yeah.
That's great, because it's hard. It's tricky.
It's a super easy game for me.
You get nervous.
All I got to do is host it. We will be doing another Name That Song in 8-bit. We will do another one for Patreon. It'll be in another couple months. And the next one is going to be Name That 90s Cartoon Theme in 8-bit.
Wow.
It will not be you on there.
Okay.
You can't.
That would still be a struggle for me.
Yeah, you can't. I'm going to have 2 different contestants on for that one. And it's going to be a lot of fun, though. I'm going to have a lot of fun doing that one. So that's really all me and Lauren did this weekend, man. It was a whole lot of nothing, which is exactly what I needed, because I've been having a lot of just extra work and extra things to do at work, and work was taking a little bit of a toll on me. So having like 5 days off, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Good recovery.
4 days off. It was very nice. Very rough going back to work today, though. Very rough. I still got my work done, I was still professional, but I was just not ready to go. Not ready to go to work.
The smile wasn't quite on your face,
and it doesn't help when it's dreary and rainy all weekend, and your parents are sending you pictures and videos from their vacation in Hawaii.
Oh shit! I forgot they're there.
My parents are in Hawaii right now, so I'm just like, you know what? Fuck you guys. Fuck you,
man.
I mean,
good for them.
Good for them. They're having.
Good for them.
They're having
one day you'll get there.
They're having their eat, pray, love 50s. So
I guess I still can't imagine the flight. See, for me, it actually works out for me to go to Hawaii because I have a lot of family in California, so I can actually have like a 2-part vacation and go to LA.
Jay, we have a free place to stay in Hawaii.
Oh God, yeah, I know.
I mean,
true. Holy shit!
Maybe not stay, but we at least
for
have
at least a night or two.
We at least have a place. We at least have a place to go and someone who can show us around. Because you know, Tom, who's one of our patrons, formerly known as the artist Ill Italian, he's invited us to come to Kauai, and I definitely would go to Kauai if I could. It's one of the smaller of the islands, but something tells me I think
it'd be even cooler.
There's
of an
more
island.
fun to go.
Absolutely,
to see. It's less touristy, right?
Maybe one day we'll get there.
Maybe someday. Finance has got to be in line. So please support us on Patreon.
Yeah. Buy us some Powerball tickets and some Mega Millions, and
get Super Movie Bros to Hawaii by joining us on Patreon.
Start a GoFundMe page,
We could do a live show straight from Ill Italian's pizza shop. We could do a live show.
We'll guarantee that. If you can get us to Hawaii, we guarantee we will record from Hawaii.
But Tom doesn't drink, so
that's okay.
Me and you were going to be drunk like the entire time.
That's okay. There's non-alcoholic beers for him to drink on.
That's true.
You can review them. It'd be great.
So this O'Doul's tastes like crap. All right, so Jay, what did you watch this week, man? Did you get into watching anything this week? Because I have a list of things that I watched this week.
Yes, I did. I finished Ozark. All seasons, the first 2 seasons, I binged them. I really enjoyed it.
Congrats! I gave up. I gave up on season 2.
Did you?
Yeah, I didn't like it. I wasn't down. It was so much more the same. I was just.
It finished strong. It finished strong because there were some character. So there were some character deaths that I did not like. I thought there were cop outs, and I didn't think it fit and was worthy enough. However, I still do enjoy kind of being in that world. I don't know why. It was one of those things where the first episode did not grab me, and I actually bailed on the series, and I kept on getting people from other walks of life telling me to watch it. Tell me to watch it. I'm like, all right, maybe I'll just give it a go again. I had some time.
I loved the first season. I thought the first season was great. I really, really enjoyed it. I think it did have a slow start and really brought it home in the end. So maybe second season's a lot like that. But I guess when it came out, and this is the nice thing about, the way we consume media today, is I wasn't ready for it. And maybe someday me and Laura can go back to it and we'll enjoy it after we've had some space from it.
Kind of what happened with me.
So it's kind of nice to be able to do that with Netflix shows.
But I also saw on Netflix this hyped up film that I've been hearing a lot of little things about called Private Life. It's written and directed by our Philly native, Tamara Jenkins, who has previously done the 2007 gem, The Savages, with Laura Linney and Philip Seymour Hoffman. This film follows an older couple who has been through just like a long battle of fertility treatments and are going through the process of adoption as well.
Everything you're going to go through by the time you finally find a woman to settle down with.
It's a bit of a drag of a film because it is heavy. It's heavy subject matter. It's really real subject matter because it does not back away or shy away from the reality of this for so many couples out there in not just the country but also the world. And it really did a good job with shining the light on that subject matter and really showing the dramatic weight between the people and also the families involved. So I thought it was a pretty well done movie. It is a hard sit through, but it is well done for what they did.
Okay. No, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's
as
just
soon
one
as
of
you
those
say
things,
it's a hard sit through, I don't want to watch
the
it.
subject matter alone. I mean,
it's a hard
tough.
sit through.
It
no,
is.
Thank you.
No, it is. But watching Paul Giamatti and Catherine Hahn together as a couple going through this is just an acting tour de force, and they really just brought a lot of great weight to those roles.
Question: does Paul Giamatti drink Merlot in it?
No.
Okay.
I am not drinking any fucking Merlot.
I don't think he ever will after that movie.
After Sideways, no.
Yeah.
All right. Was there anything else you watched?
So one of the movies that I caught in theater was The Sisters Brothers. This is a very bizarre Western that stars like a great cast. Just absolutely a great cast. It stars John C. Reilly, Joaquin Phoenix, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Riz Ahmed. It is written and directed by Jacques Odard, and it is a very weird movie that has a lot of different kind of fluctuating tones and dry comedy mixed with a lot of brutal violence and dramatic effects in 1850s Oregon. So they're essentially just, the story and the plot is all over the place, and they are just out for either blood or for gold, and every character has their own little different kind of motivations going on, and the brothers, they stick together through thick and thin. All these little weird things happen to them, but I'm telling you right now, this movie fucking put me to sleep halfway through because it is so boring sometimes, and it's so plotting, and it was not a good movie overall because it just was so long and over the top with so many different kind of themes lumped together in one movie. It's a book. It's a popular book from what I hear. I never read it, but
you've never read anything.
I know, but this was not adapted well, I thought, and I did not enjoy it. There were certain aspects and certain scenes that were shot well, and it, it was beautiful in a lot of places, the way it's shot, but otherwise the film as a whole was not for me. It did not sit well with me. I did not enjoy the comedy. I didn't enjoy the movie laid out as a whole. It just did not work.
Yeah, I haven't been interested in it at all, and I certainly certainly wasn't going to pay to see it. It's one of those movies that like I
Gotta love AMC A-list.
Yeah, I will wait until this type of stuff comes out. So for me, I got around to watching Daredevil season 3. It was something me and Lauren started probably about 2 weekends ago when it first came out, and I think we made it to like episode 3, and it was boring. Like it was honestly boring. It was a lot of retread of like emotional steps that Matt was going through in season 2 and in the Defenders, and then he spends 3 episodes in one location healing and stuff like that, and it's just
Right.
It's just this very like inner turmoil and stuff like that, and that stuff can be interesting for the character, but not over 3 episodes. That's 3 hours. That's
a long
3
time.
hours I'm spending in one emotional state for the character. But Jay, episode 4, like I had a friend when we were at the wedding, my friend Funky, who was just like, "Well, what episode are you on?" I was like, "Episode 3." He goes, "Finish it." He's like, "Just do episode 4
It's true.
and let me know how you feel after that."
I'm only 6 episodes in, and I had the exact same feeling as you, because the first 3 are kind of tough to get through, and then the 4th episode
I got
is
to
amazing.
episode 4, like, and yeah, it was amazing. It is the hallway fight scene. Well, one of the first ones in this season, a hallway fight.
11-minute one shot.
And it was amazing. And it really did kick off the entire season. But it made me sit there and wonder. And I was just like, why 13 episodes then? Like, why not?
It's still a little too long.
Why not 10 episodes? Why not?
Right.
Like, you clearly could have told this story in 10 episodes and we could have moved on with it and stuff like that. Because by the time Matt comes to grips with that emotional turmoil, whatever he was dealing with, and he presents himself to certain people and reveals that he's alive after he was thought dead in Defenders, you're just like, everything that the emotional state that he was having prior means nothing for the whole rest of the series now. For the whole rest of the season, how he felt then really means nothing now because he has a new resolve. They kind of get into it towards the end of the season again, but
I think
you clearly
that's-
could have condensed all that and made it 10 episodes,
Right.
made it extremely quick, digestible, and told a far more streamless story than they were doing with the 13 episode format. It has a great finale. I absolutely love it, and I love the villain in it. Not just Kingpin, not just Wilson Fisk. There is another villain that's in it. And I think a lot of people know from watching the trailers and stuff, because he's a guy who can throw things with incredible accuracy that everyone
no
knows
wonder.
exactly who it is wearing the Daredevil suit.
Yeah, so I'm like I said, I'm halfway through the season right now, and I'm really definitely in full stride with it and enjoying it now. It's one of those weird shows where it is very good. It's very dense. You get into it, but by the time you're like, during the binge and at the very end, you're just exhausted.
Yeah, I was.
You're enjoying yourself, but you're just exhausted being in that world, being with him, going through this battle in the fucking city. It's just, it's tough.
I was so exhausted, Jay, that the next morning when we were done watching Daredevil, I went and I decided to watch something completely different. I watched a movie called You Might Be the Killer. It came out in 2018. It has Fran Kranz in it. You might remember him from Cabin in the Woods. He plays the stoner friend, the fool in the film.
Cops will never pull over a man with a huge bong in his car. Why? They fear this man. They know he sees farther than they, and he will bind them with ancient logics.
And then Allison Hannigan. And it is the story of a camp counselor who's training other camp counselors at a camp. And they all start dying one by one. And slowly he starts realizing that he may be the killer. So it's kind of like this flip on the slasher genre and stuff like that. It's not groundbreaking. It's not, it's not even really a good movie, but it's a fun movie. I had a lot of fun with it, watching it on like a Sunday morning and stuff like that. So I watched that before everyone came over for the Eagles game, and I cooked breakfast for everyone, watched the Eagles game.
Yeah.
Drank coffee beer in the morning. I made sure I actually drank real coffee in the morning first, and then I drank coffee beer.
I just drank the coffee beer. It was great.
Watched the Eagles win in a very boring fashion, unfortunately.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, they were in London, but it was still kind of boring. But I went to a harvest day afterwards in Langhorne, and where I live, and maybe I shouldn't say that, but And it was festive. It was nice. It's nice to be in that fall set of mind and be in that kind of world again and buy up some arts and crafts and drink some Oktoberfest beers and all that fun stuff around town.
And then Jay, other than that, the other movie I got around to watching this weekend, we will be doing in our 5-minute reviews. I got around to seeing Sorry to Bother You. I actually rented it on demand because it was only in theaters around here briefly this past summer. So I'm going to be doing a 5-minute review for that, along with your 5-minute review for Old Man and the Gun. So we got that coming up right after me and Jay run through some news.
Now it's time for the news.
All right, Jay, me and you got a couple news items that we are going to run through. 10 to be specific this week.
Ish.
The first one I have is Disney is looking to hire the Deadpool writers for a Pirates of the Caribbean reboot. They're going to reboot the series, finally.
Fuck that.
I mean, finally. I think you should just let it die.
Why now?
It's too soon.
Let it die for at least 5 years.
Yeah, when did the 2016 was when...
Last year.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, early last year, I think, was the last one that came out. Now, I didn't like it at all. I gave it a D+, I believe.
Yeah, we did
I thought it was a very lazy movie. And I did not like a lot of the sequences in there, and I thought Johnny Depp hammed it in.
Isn't this becoming like a trend? Like, so-and-so studio hires Deadpool writers. Suicide Squad 2 hires Deadpool writers. We're all hiring Deadpool writers because you all love Deadpool. So if we hired people that wrote it, you're going to love it, right? No, not always. That's not the case. And it doesn't tell you which writers it's hiring. Is it hiring the whole team? Or they got the team of writers that like, we only work together, sir.
Exactly. And honestly, this never used...
We are the Deadpool Writers Union!
This movie never even really attempted to be originally a comedy. It was always supposed to be just a fucking adventure movie, you know? And that was it. And I don't know what I don't know what kind of angle they're going for now, but maybe they are going to try and do like a smaller scale reboot of some sorts. I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine it's going to be R-rated, but if it's going to be a little bit...
Now, the word reboot is used, but that doesn't mean that this is a necessary hard reboot in that they're going to retell, Curse of the Black Pearl.
They're not recasting Johnny Depp or something like that.
No, right.
Captain Jack's Captain Jack.
What they might wind up doing instead is just telling a different story that takes place in the Pirates of the Caribbean universe with different pirates and no character that has existed before.
No, that's what they'll probably do.
Yeah. No Jack, no Elizabeth Swan, no Jack Sparrow.
You can always still throw them in for something down the line. That's why it's smart to keep it in that world.
Exactly. I think that's probably more along the lines of what they're looking to do. However, of course, when news stories break like this and stuff like that, that's the way they look at it.
But speaking of Deadpool 2, they are apparently shooting scenes for this December PG-13 release.
Yep, and Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who were the writers for Deadpool 2 that we were talking about in the last story, also were rewriting these scenes as well. So it's the same writers rewriting it for the PG-13 movie, but can they bring the same level of comedy without the R-ratedness of it?
I think they will.
Okay.
I feel like they would not be going
You know my thoughts on this. I feel that they're doing the PG-13 version to prove that there's a market for it and to justify Disney taking it over and making it PG-13 when that acquisition is complete.
I'm sure they'll make fun of it.
That's my theory on it.
I just think they have a lot of content that they want to fit into this world. And I think they're just trying to fucking make money.
Well, absolutely. Well, that's the bottom line.
But really, that's really what the bottom line is. Yeah, and I think it's going to work. I mean, I'm there's going to be some funny cameos perhaps in the movie. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but even still, it's going to be fun to see what they change up. Because this movie came out so long ago, where it's kind of already been slightly forgotten and already watched on DVD, and now coming back in theaters in December, it's kind of perfect.
So, Avengers 4 casting news, Jay. Catherine Langford, and a lot of people will recognize her as the girl from 13 Reasons Why. She played Hannah Baker in that. Has been cast in Avengers 4. So, that's kind of interesting. There's no
Mystery role.
There's no word on who she's playing, but I'm wondering whether she is the younger version of some of the characters, because Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige has said that the Avengers 4 trailer will debut very soon, before the end of 2018. And the thing I find interesting about that is when we're talking about Langford being cast in the role in Avengers 4, the trailer for Avengers 4 apparently already leaked, Jay, on Reddit. A lot of people had claimed to have seen it. And, well, spoilers if you don't want to be spoiled. I honestly don't think that this trailer leak on Reddit was real, but, you know, it's going to warrant a little bit of discussion. A lot of people were saying that the trailer they saw on Reddit had to do with time travel, using the quantum realm to time travel, and basically going back through and revisiting major moments in Marvel MCU history and changing certain things.
Is this going to be a 4-hour fucking movie?
To make the outcome of what happens with Thanos different. And I'm not entirely sure that that's the case. However, set photos and stuff have come out to say that that is kind of what is going to happen, because we saw Cap in a set that looked awful lot like the set of Avengers 1, and he was wearing the Avengers 1 outfit. So it does look like there is some credence to that. However, I don't think the entire film's going to be time travel, because I think that would be boring, and it would be
a cop-out.
An extreme cop-out. And but my thing about Langford is she kind of looks like she would play a young Scarlet Witch to me. Like, if you're going to be playing a younger character, I was like, she could be a younger Scarlet Witch.
Because,
or hey, a completely
somewhat similar features,
right,
you know, besides like the longer hair. But like, you know, yeah. I mean, I like her. I mean, I thought she was good in the series. I mean, I haven't seen her do anything else, but you know,
based on looks alone, that's my theory. It's not a strong.
I really don't know.
Not a strong theory. Don't get me wrong. Not a strong theory, but I mean that's my theory.
She could be the one taking over Iron Man.
That's true. Yeah,
you don't know,
because in the Iron Man comics there was a woman who just took over for Tony Stark. I don't know whether that's
think I knew that, did you, Dave? We probably talked about it on news or something.
You scroll through the Collider site, so you see stuff like that.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah, Filmstruck has been announced to end pretty much in a month.
This kind of made me sad, man.
Yeah, this really broke the heart of a lot of people.
So I've never subscribed to Filmstruck. I wanted to, but I think I was waiting for that content that made me really want to join in. So
I was close.
They were the sole streaming service. See, that's why they're out of business, because me and you film buffs, and we didn't join in.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I don't think it marketed or it didn't incentivize the younger generation to go.
Well, not only
seek out this service.
It marketed itself to film buffs. So like people who weren't just into modern cinema, the majority of what they streamed was, older cinema, but they also were the sole streaming service for the Criterion collection. Anything that's ever been released on Criterion, you could stream there on Filmstruck, which is nice. But if you think about the success of things like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, stuff like that, is they're all creating original content. Even when like the DC streaming service just hit a couple weeks ago, Titans and other shows are being planned that are original content. So things that make you want, like even CBS when they did their own streaming service was like, if you want new Star Trek, you have to join the CBS streaming service. That's the only way Star Trek fans are going to get new Star Trek stuff, unless they pirate it. So, I mean, that's the thing. Filmstruck, I guess, didn't incentivize themselves with original content enough to bring people in.
What was interesting is because they did a pretty good financial boost right from the get-go, trying to like promote this, and it, I guess, it had a bit of a surgence and then just died off. I don't think they continued with the promotion. I think they had a big front load promotion for it, and that was it, and that was all.
A lot like MoviePass,
kind of, yeah. And it's disappointing. And they had a really optimistic statement, saying that they learned a lot. It's not necessarily over. They're going to be learning from what they've failed to do in this venture, and going forward, they will learn from that and just hopefully make something better.
Well,
whatever that might be.
Word is they may be acquired by somebody before this is all said and done.
Perhaps, but it's a little disappointing for moviegoers, and especially for classic film lovers and indie film lovers. So also, really quick, just going to go through this. Fantastic Beast. It's expected to make $75 million for the opening weekend in the U.S., which is pretty much on par with the original. I think it's going to honestly perhaps do a little bit better. I think it's lowballing its projections, because I think the trailers look a lot better than the first movie.
There's
so I feel
not
like,
a whole lot around it either.
Well, yeah. Yeah, then that too. And still, Harry Potter fans are fucking diehards. And it's around that same time that they always used to come out. So I think they're going to come out in droves, especially since this trailer just looks more like a Harry Potter fucking film. It doesn't have that kind of sleepish, boring, kind of whimsical flair that the first Fantastic Beasts had that I didn't care for. And this one has a little bit more of a dramatic weight to it and a little dark, fun mystery. So we'll see how that goes.
All right, so in a bit of fun news, I really like this news. We talked last week in part 2 of the Halloween episode when we did Pet Sematary. We talked about Stephen King properties and stuff like that. Stephen King sold the rights to one of his stories for $1 fucking $1. I absolutely love that. So it's for his short story Stationary Bike that he sold that to them for. So I love that. It's it's something that I'm sure, looking at his pantheon of stuff that he's written and stuff that hasn't been made into movies yet, he looked at this and went, this is not something marketable to major Hollywood. So it's kind of a nice little PR move for him, but it's also just really nice. And what a great feeling for those kids.
Of course.
For those teenagers that are
lifelong bragging rights.
Yeah.
Come on, please.
Come on, man. I would make Stationary Bike 1 through 6 immediately.
I bet you would.
Dude, you see Stationary Bike 4? Oh my God, the bike got so much bigger this time. Dude, the bike looked jacked, right? I really like the character motivations of the bike in this one.
Of course, yeah.
All right, Jay, what else you got?
Alexander Skarsgård and Deadpool 2 star Julian Dennison is actually joined the cast of Godzilla vs. Kong 2020 film, also having Millie Bobby Brown and Kyle Chandler and Damien Picard and Zia Young.
Just stop. This movie's not real to me. It doesn't come out till August 2020. So shut up about it. All right, Jay, this one I found really interesting as well. The MPAA has done a study that has revealed that the majority of the movies that have been released in the last 50 years have been R-rated, which I find to be funny in the way that so many studios are pushing for PG-13 and reaching a mass audience. It turns out that since 1968, 30,000 films have been given an R rating, which is astra-fucking-nomical, man.
I think it's slightly because
only 5,578 have been rated PG, and 4,913 have been rated G. So it definitely, the market is in favor for R-rated movies, and I'm not sure what made them want to do this study. The MPAA does these studies, one study every year like this.
Yeah, but they're also counting the movies that go straight to DVD, the ones that are, very small indie movies that are mostly R-rated.
Yes.
And honestly, yeah, I mean, I kind of believe it, to be honest. It does make sense to me because, I look on those, the fucking what's coming out in theaters. A lot of times when my kids trying to see a movie, they're mostly all R-rated anymore nowadays. There's not too many kid-friendly movies. It seems like it's every other week now, and sometimes not all of them are suited for those kind of kids.
I think what this says about it is that we need to rethink how we rate things as R. I think a lot of times violence gets regulated to being PG-13 and sexual content and nudity gets regulated to R, where I feel like it should be reversed. We
actually never talked about this before on air, but I agree. And we are the only country that does see it that way.
which is a little odd, correct? And
we're so worried about teen pregnancy that we don't care about the mass shootings that are going on in places. And I'm not saying that movies actually influence that stuff.
Let's be honest. To some, maybe it does, but not the majority.
Right.
So it's one of those things where it doesn't make sense, right, Dave? It really just doesn't. They're both entertainment avenues, for films, and then, it one's for the positive and one is obviously for the negative. But either way, they're entertaining. And you're right. I think they do need to think about it. And also, this day and age, the kids are just a little bit more grown up earlier on than they were when we were growing up, to be honest, because of social media, obviously. And it's just this day and age, and it is what it is, and you have to adapt with the times. And a lot of people in Hollywood are still a little bit on the dated side. So, in time, things will change. But not quite yet.
Not in that regard, I don't think. I think we're going to become far more conservative before we become progressive, sir. All right, so moving on. In the biggest no-brainer news that I could ever report, Lucasfilm renewed boss now after she re-signed up, and everyone said that bitch is out. She re-signed up, doubled down 3 more years. Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy has reported Boba Fett movie is dead. It's dead. They're not going to make it. The James Mangold directed Boba Fett movie isn't happening. So just in case
Are you upset?
No, not really. Just in case you thought they were joking around or they were kidding or they were not serious when they said, we're going to rethink how we structure these movies and how we release them and what content we put out there. Just in case you thought they were joking. Nope. That Boba Fett movie that everyone was looking forward to, that they announced the director for, they knew who was working on the script. I'm sure there's concept art and script out there for it. Not happening. Not going to do it.
I love it. I give them so much credit for doing this.
Reacting so quickly to something that they saw could be a foreseen problem for their future.
Realizing that they were just being greedy and not cherishing the franchise that they have and the fans that they have for Star Wars.
I've said it a bunch of times. You still can have these stories in some way. These scripts still exist. You can still give that character that portions of that story in a different movie, but you don't focus it around one person from the universe. You can have Han Solo and Chewbacca
Dave,
return.
You can though, but you put it on fucking Disney streaming.
You could, but I don't think they're going to do that for a lot of these.
It.
Because I think when you put it on Disney streaming and stuff like that, you further cheapen it than if you just continue to pump them out every year.
But for something like Boba Fett, wouldn't that be more fitting than actually a big
what's more
version?
fitting is telling a story about an aspect of the Star Wars universe and maybe bringing in familiar characters within that story. Where I don't want to see the story of Han Solo and how he got every object that is on his body when we see him in A New Hope. I don't want to see that. But I would like to see Han Solo in a story that takes place in the criminal underworld where we see multiple characters, not new and old, involved in that to make it feel like more of a lived-in universe, more of a historic universe where when Han Solo sees Boba Fett and it's like, oh, Boba Fett again, it feels more, now you can flash to that flashback of it. But when you focus on Boba Fett the entire time or you focus on Han Solo the entire time, it's almost like it's too much of that one character. Star Wars has always been an ensemble cast of people, even though it focuses on the hero's journey, on Luke's journey. You were
because
more,
it's a Star Wars story,
right? Exactly.
It's not a Han Solo story.
Exactly. So I like the reactionists. I like that they're doing this, and I'm really hoping that once after Episode 9 is released in another year, they really just take a step back and maybe take a break for a little while, and we just enjoy the 3 shows already that they're going to have on a Disney streaming service, and we just enjoy those. I think the MCU.
I'm confident with it.
I think the MCU having TV shows on a streaming service, though, I think that's a good place for it because they've already shown that they're starting to not be marketable on network television as is now. So that's going to do it for news this week. Jay and I are going to get into our 5-minute reviews. Jay is going to be reviewing Old Man and the Gun, and I am going to be reviewing Sorry to Bother You. Now it's time for me and Jay to get into our 5-ish minute reviews for 2 movies. So Jay is going to kick it off with Old Man and the Gun.
So, what did you say you do?
Well, that's a secret.
And why is that?
Well, because if I told you, you probably wouldn't want to see me again.
Who said I was going to see you again?
Would you? Well, let's take this place. Say it was a bank, and instead of that counter up there, that was really a teller's window, and you just walk in, real calm. So you walk right up, look her in the eye, and you say, "Ma'am, this is a robbery." And you show her the gun, like this. And you say, "I wouldn't want you to get hurt, because I like you. I like you a lot. So don't go breaking my heart now, okay?"
You're not serious.
Yes. So this movie is The Old Man and the Gun. It is directed by and written by David Lowery. Stars Robert Redford, Casey Affleck, Sissy Spacek, and Danny Glover, with Tom Waits also in the trio of friends with Robert Redford's character.
Tom Waits has been in movies before.
Yes. He's a nice little delight of energy thrown into this.
I love his music too, but I mean, he's an absolute weirdo back in the day, and a lot of that was due to drugs.
Of course. And he still has that kind of charm in this movie as well.
He was in a movie, I remember him in this movie, Wrist Cutters, with Patrick Fugit and the girl who was in A Knight's Tale, and they are 2 people that committed suicide, and they go to like this purgatory type place, and Tom Waits is kind of like the god or like the leader of this this place,
kind of like the devil-ish.
I really liked it. I don't know why. I liked it a lot. I liked that movie.
I vaguely remember the movie. I saw it. It's just a weird.
I like it.
A weird 90s movie.
Well, I got weirder for you when we get into Sorry to Bother You. But Jay,
that's true.
Old Man and the Gun.
Yes. So this one is supposedly Robert Redford's last final performance,
until he does a cameo or 2, and then comes back and does another starring role in 10 years.
He's actually kind of regretted saying this publicly. He kind of wanted to just kind of go out very quietly and just fade into the distance, and it is a perfect final movie and performance for him and his career.
Like Sean Connery did. I faded away. I'll never come back.
Yeah.
Not until they stop doing CGI, unless they do CGI titch.
And he plays a lifelong charming bank robber. So Casey Affleck is this melancholy detective trying to track him down, and we see how he intricately pulls off these kind of heists in the early 80s and befriends this widow played by Sissy. It's really shot on 16 millimeter, and I love that kind of choice because it does feel like an older film, like an old classic film, and it's just, there's no bells and whistles. It's told in a very patient way and a very honest way and a very classic way, and it's really a lighthearted kind of romp that it tells a true, for the most part, story of this guy, Forrest Tucker, who actually lived this life in and out of jail and, was a just flat out crook who just stole and had that impulse nonstop. And it's a delight of a movie, and it's really a final performance that is worthy of Robert Redford and his star, because he is a star and he'll always be one. So
fantastic.
It's a delight of the movie. I'm gonna give it a B+. I mean, it's a great, solid, fun little easy breezy movie.
Does Casey Affleck, he just plays like melancholy detective really well? Did you ever see Gone Baby Gone?
It was a little too melancholy for me, I think, to be honest, for this one.
Like
this
Gone Baby Gone,
role,
he plays a very melancholy private detective in that. And
yes, but honestly, this one bothered me a little bit more because I didn't really feel the urgency. I mean, he had the look. He had that kind of like dated 80s look with the mustache.
So here's the thing
hair.
about Casey Affleck. Nothing about him screams like
urgency or any
authority,
kind of, or authority so much.
Right.
But I there was times where I liked it because it was kind of, it got a little bit on the playful side, but at the same time it was that kind of era and generation because there's no technology and he knew of this person. So no spoiler, but they do have a face-to-face moment, and that was one of my favorite parts because there was a little sly tongue-in-cheek kind of dialogue exchange between the two that was kind of fun.
He pulls a knife on you, you pull a gun on him. sends one of your men to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue.
But David, you have the complete opposite movie.
Oh my God, do I? So
tell me.
Hey, Cash, how much longer I gotta wait for my money?
I just really need a job. 40 on 2.
This is telemarketing.
Stick to the script. Hey, hello. Mr. Davison, Cassius Green here. Sorry to bother.
Let me give you a tip. You want to make some money here? Use your white voice.
Hey, Mr. Kramer. This is Langston from Regal View.
As always, we'll be getting that out to you right away.
You're doing so good with the voice thing.
Holla, 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 holla.
Oh, yeah. All right. Hell yeah. You're going upstairs, power caller.
They even have their own elevator.
Welcome, Power Caller. I hope you did not masturbate today. We need you sharp and ready to go.
Here's the starting salary.
Well, man, I'm gonna have to get me some new suits.
Whatever I wear, no, I'm here to be clear.
It is morally emaciated. I can't ride with you.
Some for the homies and some for me.
Hell yeah. That's right.
Sorry to Bother You, which, as I said, was a film that came out this summer, and it was limited market release, and it was here at our Neshaminy Theater for all of like 2 weeks. Like, that was it. And I wasn't able to get out there, wasn't able to see it. And I was very upset about it because the writer-director, Boots Riley, was actually on Preston and Steve, our local morning radio show, who I sometimes listen to, and I actually caught like the tail end of his interview, and about how this is a film that he's been writing for a long time. He's been writing it for a long time, and it was actually a bit of a chore to get made, and he kind of complimented the more progressive movement that's been going on in our society, pushing for more equal rights and everything like that actually got this film made. And it's a very interesting movie. So, Sorry to Bother You stars Lakeith Stanfield as Cassius Green. Cassius begins work at a telemarketing firm in hopes of increasing his economic status. Cassius is unsuccessful at his job until he learns from an older call center employee, Langston, played by Danny Glover, how to sell using his white voice. Soon, Cassius is swept up in his own success and begins to climb the corporate ladder, leaving friends and his girlfriend, Detroit, played by Tessa Thompson, behind in his pursuit of fortune and glory. But Cassius soon learns that the infrastructure of corporate America is far more seedy, weird, and dark than Cassius and the audience could ever have imagined. And that's, when I say dark and not just that, like more than you could ever imagine, the trailer for this movie really like hooked me in. I thought it was really funny, a little bit tongue in cheek when they say like his white voice, and then it's not like the actor puts on a white voice. Lakeith Stanfield, when he puts on his white voice, it is actually voiced by David Cross, like the whitest comedian you could find. And then later on in the film, there's another guy in the call center who's voiced by Patton Oswalt. Like, they literally got like the whitest white guy voices they could find to do their voices. And I absolutely loved it. And it was played to some comedic effect, but it was also played to like effect where other people would hear him talking like that and be like, can you not do that? Like, and people understood why he was able to do it and were pretty amazed that he was so proficient at changing his voice this way. But it also creeped them out when he was around his friends and in non-working mode. And then they definitely used that as like a device to show you that like sometimes he started using his white voice in non-work situations and stuff. So it's like, it's almost like he's changing and he's becoming part of this corporate machine. And the film is definitely a satire. It's an allegory. And one of the things like I noticed right off the bat is it doesn't necessarily take place in our world, but this world is more of like a caricature version. Like you go to the theme park and the artist sits down and draws that picture of you, and it's the character version of you, big head, small body, doing something ridiculous. All your features are enhanced and stuff like that. That's exactly this type of world. There's a crazy reality show that's called I Just Got the Shit Beat Out of Me. And it's the #1 watched show on television. And
it's just not the movie I thought it was going to be.
And there's even an unbelievable corporation that is literally selling slave labor. So it's kind of like this allegory world. But one of the cool things about it is that while this world is different than ours, it feels right for the movie because all these weird things exist and no one reacts to them in like a weird way, right? Like no one walks past like the billboard advertising this weird thing and goes like, I can't believe we live in a world where this is going on, you know?
Right.
It's just more of like an acceptance that like this is what we've become. And while they do point it out that stuff is off and wrong, they don't necessarily point out that it's such a leap that they got to that point. So the struggles of Cassius and his friends feel very real in this allegory story. And that's another thing that really grounds it. The film is very stylistic. It definitely pays homage to Michelle Gondry, who Boots Riley actually is very mad at. So there's a part in the film where Armie Hammer's character is showing Lakeith Stanfield's character a video, a marketing video about the corporation that he wants him to work for. And it says that it is directed by Michelle Gondry. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is Boots Riley is actually influenced by Michelle Gondry's visual style an awful bit, especially in this movie. And he reached out to Michelle Gondry and asked him whether he could, pay homage to him in this way. And Michelle Gondry said yes with a few stipulations, and Boots Riley agreed. The next day, Boots Riley gets a call from Michelle Gondry's agents, and they say, absolutely not. You cannot do that. You will be sued. And Boots Riley really wanted to do it anyway because this movie is technically a spoof, so he could get away with it without any type of legal repercussions, but he just didn't feel like dealing with the battle, and he decided that instead he's going to put Michelle Gondry in there as a little bit of an insult to Michelle Gondry, and he has sworn that in every film he makes from here on out, he will find some way to insult Michelle Gondry until he gets an apology from Michelle Gondry, which I find kind of funny and a little inside baseball, and it's kind of like but hey man, your name is all you really have in Hollywood, so I get why Michelle Gondry's people didn't want him to do it. So the stylism in the film is extremely appreciated, but really the film shines in its relationships and the morality questions that it poses. It's oddly believable, this entire world, which is crazy, but while there are many social issues that are tackled in the film, I really can't get into all of them here. Like it's so deep that with so many like little hints at problems in our society that it's impossible to cherry pick just any one of them and bring it to the forefront. But there is one scene, and I described it to you, where he's at a corporate party.
Yes.
And he's the only black guy, and they tell him to sit down, and they start asking him, do you rap? And he's like, no, I'm terrible at rapping. And they're like, oh, come on, you're from Oakland, and you're a black guy. You clearly rap. So they start like chanting, rap, 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 rap. And he eventually succumbs to it, but like his reaction to it is great. And like I was sitting there and I was like, that is what it has to feel like.
Real quick, did they have like a date set in this movie as far as like the time period and all that? Just okay.
So like for me, when I was watching that scene, I was like, that is what it must have felt like for like the only black kid in like almost like an all white high school. Like, and that was
especially with a lot of douchebag guys.
Exactly.
Around, yeah.
So that was basically kind of like the type of allegory stuff you're looking at.
Well, I'll be honest, this is a movie that I was meaning to watch over the summer, and like we said earlier, it just kind of left the theaters a little too quickly, and I just haven't gotten around to renting it yet. But I will, because of Dave's review and what we discussed before and pre-production. I'm gonna watch it after school tomorrow. I can't wait. Jay, it's gonna be fucking bonkers.
Jay, there's horse people in this.
I just can't wait.
Equine sapiens, they're called.
It's just so bombastically different, and it's even more different than what I saw in the trailer. So that's even more crazier to me because like it already had me sold from the trailer. And then,
To be honest, I
can't imagine what this is going to be.
With how many social issues are tackled here in so many like subverted and weird ways, I really think that this is a film that will probably be discussed and analyzed for years to come. Jack, I'm going to be honest, I'm giving it an A. I really enjoyed just about every minute I spent with this movie. I think it really sells itself when the movie starts, and it only gets progressively weirder, which helps you along the way because it doesn't just start off weird. It's not just stark and in your face and it's like, this world's so weird and different. It does it subtly and through and over time and stuff. But by the time the third act starts and you meet equine sapiens, you're either going to jump off or you're going to take the ride. I took the ride, but I know some people might jump off.
I'm very curious to see how I take it.
Be warned, the movie is not what you expected from marketing, and good on them for the way they marketed it, because the way they marketed it was probably the best way they probably could have.
Right.
And
that's why they only had one trailer. They didn't show anything else.
I honestly really enjoyed this movie, and this is the type of movie that you watch that most other people didn't see, and then you discuss it over a beer with a friend. So it's that type of movie.
From the sounds of it, it's more like 5 beers.
5 beers. 5 beers and a spliff.
There's a lot to go through with this one, I think.
Yeah, but don't watch it on any type of psychotropics, but maybe discuss it on psychotropics.
Oh, God.
So coming up next, me and Jay are going to get into our reviews for the beers this week. Sure, you guys all know the drill by now. We are going to be reviewing some beers for you all. But before we do that, bills to pay, lights to keep on, things like that. We are sponsored by Blowfish. Blowfish is the only FDA-approved hangover cure. What it is, it's 2 tablets that you drop into 8 to 12 ounces of water, let it dissolve, drink it down, and your hangover starts to feel better. And it's not very expensive. It's only $1.25 per dose. So if you want to start feeling better after a long night of drinking, or if you had a very long night at a wedding like me and my wife did this past weekend, you're going to want to keep Blowfish on handy. You can get yourself some Blowfish over at www.forhangovers.com. That's FOR hangovers.com. And you can use our promo code SMBFish for 15% off of your order. All right, Jay, before we get into our review beers for this week, we got to do a drunk scene. And this one comes from a 1999 classic.
Well, if we hook up tonight, tomorrow will just be some girl you go telling all your friends about.
No way.
Steve, you could at least look at me when you say that.
Look, Sarah, I wouldn't go telling stories or anything about you. I promise. So just relax. Take it slow. And let the good times roll.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. What's wrong? What's wrong? What is it?
So what they don't tell you before that scene takes place,
which I think everybody already knows,
is that Kevin is up there with his girlfriend, Tara Reid, and she's giving him a beej, and she is
the BJ slut.
She's the type of girl that doesn't allow him to finish in her mouth or anywhere on her person. So he has to turn over and finish into the only thing he has, and it's a cup of beer. So when Steve
break up with her immediately.
Not when you're in high school. You put up with that.
I guess so.
So what he does, they obviously leave the room. Stifler takes over. Stifler drinks it, and we didn't have enough time to play the whole thing. But Stifler goes running down the stairs, and everyone's laughing at him. Hey, Stifler, would you like the pale ale? So you'd think we'd have more drunk scenes from American Pie at this point.
You would think so, but there's only so many great ones, and this is definitely a great one. Obviously, the very end of this movie with Stifler's mom.
Stifler's mom. Yeah, that's not really a drunk scene. That's just
but it's classy, man.
That's more
They're
like
sipping whiskey.
That's more like a Jay's sexy
time.
Yeah, it's more of a Jay's sexy time.
That's why I liked it.
But I mean, that's relatable to everybody. I mean, at some point, you know, in your youth when you were experimenting with your sexuality and stuff like that, you've had to come into something that wasn't.
That's true. I'm trying to think of
trash can in the corner, or run to the bathroom, finish off in a toilet, or you know, anywhere.
I've done trash can. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's weird. Yeah,
and dudes will come on anything.
As long as they come.
Yeah, as long as they just come on, dude. In a cup.
We're so greedy.
In a wastebasket, into a towel, into all of our socks, like whatever. When we're kids,
I never done a sock.
Never. No,
I never done the classic sock.
You saved your mom from a lot of awkward laundry days, then.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, we got 2 beers that we got to review. So why don't we start off with yours? What do you got there, man?
I have the Duck Rabbit Craft Brewery's Duck Rabbitour Lager Doppelbock. It is 8.5 alcohol by volume, and these guys are out of Farmville, North Carolina. It is a very, very bold, grainy, malty beer, as you would expect probably from a Bock, and it is a bold one. It's very strong, but you don't get that alcohol bite to it. It actually has a pretty smooth finish and a good dark color. I mean, it looks like a Guinness in your glass, but it is nice, and it really just hits a nice cool fall night right now, and it's I'm enjoying it. Put it that way. I don't love it, but I'm enjoying it. I'm going to give this a 3.75 out of 5.
All right, awesome, and I am drinking the Farmhouse Lager from the Lost Abbey out of San Marcos, California. This is 5.8% alcohol by volume, and let me tell you, man, this thing, it has a very nice malty upfront, like sweetness that it just kind of like, and then like on the back end, there's this subtle little hoppiness too, but not very strong hopped at all. But it's just very subtle. It's very crisp and clean all the way through. It finishes off great. I actually really like this. I'm not a huge lager fan, but this is definitely your type of like beer that you just like when you want to have a beer, just to have a beer. Yeah, I got you. Beer. This is that type of beer. It's just really well made.
It's got a nice color.
It's fantastic. I'm actually really enjoying it, man. This gets a 4.5 as far as lagers go. I really like it.
Beautiful.
It's crisp. It's clean. It's no caffeine. It's fucking good, man. It feels good for you. That's the thing. Like, I know it's terrible for me, but it feels...
Oh, it's not terrible for you.
It feels like it's good for me. Like, I feel like it's actually...
It's vitamin B, man. Vitamin beer. Come on. What are you talking about?
I feel like it's making me better, faster, stronger. So coming up next, me and Jay are going to do a directorial spotlight. We are going to do a spotlight on the director Ridley Scott.
I'm excited for this because I think he's a worthy candidate, and there's a lot of great directors that we might get to some point. But I think we chose Ridley Scott because he has quite an interesting resume.
Exactly.
And the filmography is filled with ups and downs. To say the least.
It's when you look back, it's kind of mostly downs or a lot of whatevers. You know, there's a lot of meh movies in there.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's head over there. Let's get into that. Now it's time to get into our director spotlight for Ridley Scott. Now, we've done other director spotlights. We did a director spotlight on Steven Spielberg. We did a director spotlight on Wes Anderson. And this is only the third one we've done. And we've chosen to do Ridley Scott because me and Jay kind of have this, I want to say fascination, but like he has a strange career, and certainly the turns that it's taken now towards the later end of it, it's certainly been not what you would expect from something of a seasoned director. And he's also one of my favorite people to impersonate on the show.
Oh, we all know that.
So we want to take it into from like his early career to his current stuff that he's been doing over the past 10 years or so. So Ridley Scott's early career, he did have some TV directorial stuff before he really hit the ground running with a movie called The Duelist, which got some notoriety at Cannes Film Festival and other film festivals, which is what wound up landing him the job for the ever fantastic and great and will live on in infamy film that came out in 1979, Alien. Jay,
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All of his current movies are predicated on the success of this one movie that he did.
That is true. That is true.
Only the second feature film that he had ever directed. And that's what's amazing about him. It's only the second feature film that he's ever directed. And it's that amazing, right? So, like, this guy started his career off pretty much on such an absolute high to create one of the greatest, sci-fi films, one of the greatest thrillers, one of the greatest horror films of all time. And he did it expertly. But even back then, when you hear stories about him, he has always been a hard-nosed, hard-ass director who expected a lot from the people working under him and has always stricken a certain amount of fear into people.
So he's like David Fincher's father.
Right.
Kind of in that kind of figure. Like, they're both very difficult directors.
Oh, listen here, Finchy fuck.
But
you're nothing like me.
Yeah. You just kind of know it. As soon as you see the guy, you know who he is. Right. But anyway, obviously Alien is a fucking classic. And it's 1979. You just see it done so expertly.
And he follows that up.
Practically.
He follows that up with a cult classic, a film that was not well received at the time that it came out. 1982's Blade Runner. It was not well received when it came out, mainly because of studio involvement. He actually didn't get to give his director's cut until the 1990s.
His director's cut.
Right, because they released a director's cut, I believe, in 1990, that was called the director's cut, but it actually wasn't his cut. It was the studio's cut.
Right.
He got to do the ultimate cut, which is definitively the best version of that movie. When people talk about that movie and
that's the one that
it's
I
cult
own.
classic, that's the one that most people that are our age were introduced to, was that ultimate cut. And that's the one that you should watch when you watch that, because it is the best version of that movie.
It is.
But it's crazy that, like, he had, like, such a misstep.
Occasionally you'll catch a voiceover, movie from time to time on the TV. But yeah, I mean, obviously this was definitely just changed the game in the landscape of sci-fi cinema, especially in that fantasy realm. And
I set you bullet points and things to discuss. And, Alien and Blade Runner, I think the majority of our audience knows the importance of those films to us and to film as a whole. But what you probably aren't so familiar with, that he is extremely famous for and literally changed how marketing was done after that, was he directed the Apple Mac commercial. That's the commercial where the woman comes running down the hall, running down the aisle, and there's nothing but like drones and workers working to her left and right. And there's like this overlord talking on this big screen, and she throws the sledgehammer and it goes through the screen and stuff like that. That was the Apple Mac commercial. And it's actually one of the most famous commercials ever made for how stylistic it was and how cinematic it was.
Yeah, and different.
And its delivery and stuff like that. And it honestly became like one of these things that's like, it lives on in infamy, and it has been parodied, and it has been remembered. A commercial that came out in the 1980s.
That's why directors still do commercials, not only because they're lucrative, but like also they can have a artistic sensibility that can be really strong and powerful and actually deliver something.
He treated this commercial as like a short film.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of, Nicholas Winding Refn, for example, is a fantastic commercial director.
Right.
And a lot of times, sometimes he's better in that kind of scope. Very short and sweet and to the point. Maybe not so much all the time long format movies like Only God Forgives, which is a little pretentious to fuck.
But even Wes Anderson did that holiday commercial a couple years back, where like the entire train, the train's not going to make it to its station on time for Christmas Eve, and the conductor, played by Adrian Brody, a alum of Wes Anderson films, goes and gets all the adults to put on like a fantastic Christmas Eve for the only little boy on the train. It's a cute like little thing, but it's very stylistic and it's very much in the Wes Anderson vein. So
that's true.
Sometimes they can be remembered for that. And I want to talk about that because he kind of isn't very stylistic for a while after this. So in the mid 80s to the early 90s, he did a movie called Legend, which had a very young Tom Cruise in it and a very, very great practical effects devil monster in it that was played by Tim Curry. And that was very stylistic, and I know it has a cult following and stuff like that, but honestly, there's not a whole lot that is special about that other than the world and the practical effects. Then he did, Black Rain, Thelma and Louise, and G.I. Jane. I think, while Thelma and Louise was very progressive and got a lot of critical praise and stuff like that, it was more for the acting that was in the film more so than
the actual movie itself.
Right, more so than the stylistic choices of a director and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. He gives the direction to the actors and stuff.
And G.I. Jane really played up on the part as far as like having a female lead be a military woman and shave her head and be such a star in this leading role.
To this day, I find it so cheesy when she's doing push-ups in the rain and that drill sergeant's in her face and she says, "Suck my dick." Yeah, and I'm like, oh.
No, it's cheesy as shit. I mean, it's so classic 90s. I mean, it's just, that's what it is. I mean, it's one of those movies. I let it go with this one because I really did enjoy it at the time.
So to be honest, like for me, I didn't really get into anything from Ridley that was truly memorable for well over 15 years until we get 2000's The Gladiator.
Of course.
Gladiator is just like,
nothing can ever come close to this one.
But stylistically, Gladiator is nothing like what his previous films were.
Right.
And they kind of shaped how his films would look from that point on.
I think it's the new technology. I think he started to tap into some new technology with
because
some equipment.
Other films he does, like Kingdom of Heaven and Exodus Gods.
That's a little bit later, yeah.
All those ones, like those are a lot like Gladiator in a way, and also the Robin Hood movie that he made with Russell Crowe as well. Like, I feel like all of their stylistic choices, these period pieces, all have that Gladiator style that it seems like, he not just perfected, but just did so well. Like when you watch Gladiator,
it's cinematography heavy.
Yeah, but you
very
feel
pretty, very beautiful.
And you feel like that,
and gritty.
I feel like Rome looked like that.
Right.
Like I feel like that. I feel like Maximus Decimus Meridius is someone that
beautiful but gritty and realistic in a weird way, Yeah. And I liked how he changed up the hues for Gladiator and Kingdom of Heaven, because Kingdom of Heaven is extremely underrated. I think it's one of the most underrated epics of all time.
It's also about like 2 hours shorter than he wanted it to be. He wanted this to be like a huge, sprawling epic. He talked about splitting it into 2 films, and they told him it was too long. Once they started seeing cuts of it, they ended up telling him to cut so much of that movie out, and it winds up suffering for it. And the fact is that Edward Norton who's in the film, he actually plays the man in the Iron Mask in it, was so disappointed with it that any scene where they showed his face was actually cut out. He actually went through and removed that stuff from the script.
Yeah, so I don't know how he was able to do that. That's
because
crazy.
He had that clause in his script at that time that he could change things like that. And so you actually don't see Edward Norton's face in that movie at all because he didn't want his face to be seen.
Honestly, he was great in the movie too. His voice acting was fantastic.
Orlando Bloom was the thing that was not great in that movie. Liam Neeson was good in it. Like I like Liam
Neeson was good. Orlando Bloom was fine. He was fine. Before that, Matchstick Men came out in 2003 with Nicolas Cage and Alison Lohman, with Sam Rockwell in there and Bruce Admin. So this movie, it's
a great character movie.
It's a very character-heavy indie little movie that I always really enjoyed, and I loved the performances.
But it's surprising that it comes from Ridley Scott.
But like it's kind of like his weird stylistic indie movie that comes up every once in a blue moon, right? Every once in a blue moon.
It is. You're skipping one. You're skipping actually 2. You're skipping the worst sequel.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to get into that.
To follow up an Academy Award-winning film. He directed Hannibal, and Hannibal is just a mess, story-wise, stylistically, and even the character motivations of Clarice Starling. It all is just wrong. It's just all from the entire time that movie starts to its finish, it feels wrong and so starkly different than Silence of the Lambs. It's so crazy that it came from him. And then Black Hawk Down, which is honestly next to Saving Private Ryan, is like my second favorite war film.
No, I agree. It's definitely up there for me.
Yeah, he really got used to the handheld cam in this one, because try picking out an actor in that film and saying, oh, that's who that is, because you can't tell. It's just everything's moving so hard, so fast.
Yeah.
But it is a brilliant and emotional movie that is extremely well done. I love Black Hawk Down. Jay, let's move on to his late 2000s movies, which, while some of them got a lot of critical praise, they're not as memorable as, say Gladiator, Alien, and Blade Runner. American Gangster, which got a lot of critical praise, but I actually never enjoyed it too much. Like, first off, I'm not the biggest fan of like 70s, right? Or even drug movies. Like, I
am. And I enjoyed the movie, but it doesn't have that rewatchability.
It doesn't.
So that was the thing that always plagued my enjoyment with the movies. Like, I like what he did. I enjoyed it, but this doesn't have any kind of rewatchability. And it doesn't matter how good the performances are. It doesn't matter how like nice it's shot. The story, it's all based on a true story. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, none of that.
For some odd reason, it just didn't quite work 100% as far as rewatchability, which does play a big part in films, as far as being beloved.
And then also Body of Lies, which is probably one of the most...
I hate that movie.
Which is one of the most forgettable Leonardo DiCaprio performances ever. And it also, it was in this time for Leonardo DiCaprio where it was post-Departed, where he was in a lot of these like gritty crime-esque films, like Blood Diamond, and which I really enjoyed Blood Diamond.
Yeah, it was like his cash grab phase or something like that. I don't know exactly what it was, but Russell Crowe too was also doing the same thing. He was just sort of throwing things, and like A Good Year came out,
right? And that was him,
which was also Russell Crowe, and it was like
and Ridley Scott,
weird, whimsical Ridley Scott French movie that I saw, and I appreciated what he was going for. It just did not work.
No.
It was unfortunately a horribly orchestrated script, and like it just did not work.
And then Robin Hood, which we already discussed a little bit when we were talking about Kingdom of Heaven. It's so bad. It's so, if you're catching a trend here, he's so up and down. It's
exactly,
it's so strange,
and it's not gonna get any better going forward.
Well, so in the 2010s, I call this the revisiting aliens phase. So he comes out in 2012 with Prometheus, and Prometheus is very critically, I don't want to say panned. It's so critically mediocre, and then
disappointed.
Fan reaction was awful to it. Fans absolutely hated it. You think you're getting...
There was too much expectations.
Well, the expectations were set up by Ridley Scott in interviews when he's like, it's a prequel to Alien. We are going to tell the story of the space jockey. So if you ever saw Alien, you wondered where the space jockey came from, this is going to tell you that story. And then he backtracked and goes, it's not an Alien prequel. You're not going to see aliens in it or xenomorphs and stuff like that. Yeah. It's just a story that takes place in the same
studio took the scotch away from him, and he's like, fuck.
And then...
All right, listen, you fucking cunts. I want to make another Alien movie. So you're going to let me fucking do it.
And then they're like, okay, look. How about it's proto-aliens?
I can get down with that, yeah.
But look, we have one stipulation for you, Ridley.
All right, what's that?
Your main character can't zig or zag. She's going to have to run straight as the spaceship falls on top of her.
Yeah. We could do that, yeah.
Of course. Fuck the bitch.
All right, fuck her good.
But anyway, Prometheus, it's just it was a mess of marketing. It was a mess of a story as well. Like even the script is a little bit of a mess. And
I didn't love it.
I actually toyed with either talking about Ridley Scott's entire career here or just doing another thing that I defend that everyone hates. Because I did that for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And
yes.
I wanted to kind of do that here for Prometheus, because Prometheus...
Right now?
No.
I was going to say, that's going to take a little bit of time.
Instead of this segment that we're doing now.
Yes.
Maybe in the future I'll do that. But it was
Patreon.
It was this movie that was had high expectations, low delivery, and I don't think even Ridley was prepared for how big of fans people were for Aliens.
How much weight behind it.
Right.
That it wanted not. I think he wanted to deliver, but I think he also did not expect how much weight the fans had behind it.
Right.
Expecting to really deliver something that kind of matched and was on the same playing field as Alien and Alien 2.
Exactly.
It was a little
Alien 2. Jay, what's Alien 2 called?
Aliens, I'm sorry.
Aliens, yes.
And this movie I kind of liked watching. I appreciate it a little bit more over time.
It gets better with repeat viewings.
It does.
I will say that.
It does. But overall, I was still a little bit on a disappointed side. And The Counselor, I don't even want to get into.
No.
It's a weird fucking movie.
So let's move up to a high point in his career. A film that was much beloved by people, by critics, won a few Academy Awards, The Martian, man. So what's so different when he has a source material to work with?
Right.
I think that winds up being a big difference here in a lot of his later films is when he has a good source material to work off of.
What, Exodus, Gods and Kings isn't good enough for you?
No, the Bible is a terrible source material, especially when you make changes to the Bible source material and people get angry for you for it.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, no, I'm not even talking about Exodus, Gods and Kings. I don't even know how that movie got made.
I can't believe they put that money in.
But The Martian is kind of like Return to Form Ridley Scott, right? He's filming this sci-fi landscape in a way, and he's grounding it in reality, and he's getting a brilliant performance from a brilliant actor, to be fair, already. Matt Damon's already a brilliant actor, but I think what this comes down to is since the source material was so beloved and since the studio wanted this to be the type of film that it was, I think he was honestly brought in as almost like a shooter for this. I think it was pretty well set forth in front of him what this movie was supposed to be like, and he delivered that. I don't think there's too much Ridley Scotty-isms in this.
Well, you know what? It's a Drew Goddard film. He wrote it.
Right. Drew Goddard's a great writer.
He's a great writer.
And you can say what you want about him as a
Great
director,
writer.
but he's a good writer. And then Jay, we get Alien Covenant, which to me is far more of an egregious crime to the Alien universe and to Ridley Scott's legacy than Prometheus ever could be. It's true. It is.
This was it. This was it for him. This was his saving grace for his career,
right?
Almost.
And they thought by bringing
this kind of world,
a proper xenomorph back was going to be the Band-Aid that put it all together. But when you watch this movie, it is just I
knew it. As soon as they showed it on top of the fucking ship at the end of the trailer, I was like, nope.
Yep.
They fucked this whole movie up. I know it.
We called it, we were worried that it was going to be bad when we did a trailer park for it, and it showed the shower scene, and that's where the alien shows up and kills the two people in the shower. We're just like, that's so slasher horror. They're clearly trying to appeal to a different type of audience.
He's got to retire. I
don't know if he has to retire. I think he does great as a producer.
Well, all right. In his defense, following up that travesty, he did come out with all the money in the world that had a little bit of controversy behind it because of the time with the whole Me Too movement. And let's not forget,
he had to pick up and reshoot scenes that had been done for months.
Yeah, Kevin Spacey already shot that. He had 2, maybe 3 months to reshoot, re-edit, and cut Christopher Plummer in the role of J. Paul Getty. And this movie actually was pretty well reviewed and adored, and his performance was actually really, really good and lauded. So, I haven't seen it yet. I don't know why. It's definitely kind of a Jay's movie of some sorts.
I saw it.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
But either way, so did you like it? I mean, was it okay?
Super solid movie.
Solid, yeah. That's why I kind of figured it. But even still, I would like to see a solid Ridley Scott movie.
Nothing I would put on his list of greatest hits or anything like that.
Sure.
No, it's a very solid Ridley Scott movie. And if you look at his IMDb right now, Jay,
8 upcoming movies in the works for him to direct.
Wow. And one of them on there is a follow-up to Alien Covenant.
Fuck him.
Still in the works now.
I have a love-hate relationship with Ridley. I mean, I don't.
You want to like him, right?
I do.
He gave you Alien and Blade Runner, so you want to love him.
He's given me a lot. He's given me a lot.
And
Dave.
he made Gladiator, so it's like
I know what he has in him.
Right.
It's just I don't know if it's a patience or just arrogance sometimes that just doesn't come in line with the projects that he chooses. I'm not exactly sure what it is.
I'm not either.
But
oh man, he's an interesting guy. He's a challenging guy.
It's amazing that he's made, masterpieces and some truly memorable movies, and then just some truly awful ones that you don't want to. Right, you don't want to look. I mean, look at Cameron and look at Spielberg. Now, I think there's like if you say there's tiers to directors, then Cameron, Spielberg, those guys are in the top tier. Ridley Scott is in tier 2. Like he's just he's just below them. But
well, I mean, first of all, Cameron doesn't make movies
anymore
often at all.
Or if he does, it takes him 15 fucking years to do it.
and let's be honest, like 80% of the time, Spielberg is making a masterpiece. Regardless. I mean, it's a good movie. That's what I'm saying. Like but I mean, 80% of the time they're like masterpieces.
Yeah,
doesn't matter what genre.
It's like I want to like Ridley Scott, but honestly, watch first off, documentaries about the films he's made, and every actor that's worked with him, with the exception of probably Russell Crowe, who can probably match him for drinking and for crazy.
Exactly.
They all have had problems with him as a director and how forceful he is. I don't know if he's gotten worse with old age, but when he was younger, he was very militant as a director. Always the guy screaming on set. Always the guy that is, now. No, we're doing another one. No, we're going longer. I don't care. Fuck your union. Like he's always been that guy.
Well, I can't really say because I'm just a simple podcaster and film lover, but I don't mind that as long as he delivers a good movie. Even if I'm the fucking actor.
But what I'm saying is, feel like what if he's mellowed? What if he's not militant anymore? And that's
impossible. There's no way. There's no way. He wouldn't be doing the shit that he's still doing right now if he wasn't that.
Well, we know based on previous episodes that he's the one that actually called up Blomkamp and told him, like, your fucking alien movie's not happening. Get this through your head, you Blom cunt.
I love that. I want that on Twitter released or somewhere on the
internet. You want that to be a real thing?
I want it to be a real thing. I want to hear it.
Not something I just made up.
I want to see it. No, it's not what you made up. I want to see it.
I did make it up.
I want to hear. No, fuck you. No, it happened.
I did make it
No,
up.
it happened. I don't care.
But for the Alien sequel, that
in my mind it happened, David. I loved it.
For the Alien Covenant sequel he supposedly has in the works, I'm sure nothing is getting officially greenlit for that until the completion of Disney's full acquisition of Fox, who I believe owns the Alien universe.
We'll see. I'm not sure exactly who owns it. It probably is Fox, but Ridley Scott does have quite a bit of power still in Hollywood.
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely owned by 20th Century Fox. I mean, that's how Alien vs. Predator got made. They're both Fox properties, and now with a lot of Fox stuff being in limbo now. Granted, they've already said that everything that is in production from this point on will continue to be in production under Fox. Everything after acquisition is complete will be all under Disney, but it kind of does put Alien in this little bit of like a limbo place, like where's Ridley taking it from here, and just how bad can he fuck up that franchise? Just how bad can he do it? But we can all be thankful of one thing, Jay. He didn't direct Blade Runner 2049, and the sequel to that was far better for it.
I think so, too.
Critically loved.
I really do.
And the people who saw it loved it, but it just didn't get the box office that it deserved. So no more Blade Runner films, and that's okay. I'm actually really cool with that going out.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
But, Ridley Scott is definitely an interesting guy. If you have more information than we do, me and Jay are just kind of having like a broad discussion of his career and stuff like that. If there's anything we didn't discuss about his career, any film that you think that we should have put more of a spotlight on, please reach out to us on Twitter at SuperMoviePod. You can also reach out to Jay on Facebook, Super Movie Bros Podcast on there. And also, if you want to check out the beers that we've been reviewing tonight, you can follow Jay over on Instagram.
Super Movie Bros Beer. So check us out in there. I post up some random photos every once in a while of us, and also what we've been drinking over the weeks.
And then, also, if you don't want to get a hangover from all the scotch that you've been drinking and the cigars that you've been smoking, much like Ridley Scott, then make sure you go over to 4hangovers.com and use the promo code SMBFish to cure those Ridley Scott hangovers real quick. No one wants to go to work on Monday morning just being like, "Oi, cut!" And of course, we are part of a network. We are part of the Podfix Network. So head over to www.podfixnetwork.com and check out all of the shows that are part of the Podfix Network. I want to thank all of you for listening. You have an excellent night. Cheers.
Cheers.